Welcome to
Clay Against Humanity.
Today I'll be turning Taylor Swift into a vampire and having her feed on the guts of a cow. Why? Well, as I tell you my source of inspiration for this piece, I will play some footage of my design and how I add tinfoil to this copper wire to act as a base for my sculpture so you don't get bored. Okay, so I have this friend who is a bit of a social media aficionado. I asked him for an idea for a video that he thought would be a viral hit. He suggested anything with Taylor Swift is popular right now. He also said that combining the words Taylor Swift and beef in the title might give it a boost. So naturally my mind went to this. Okay, so after I adequately cover this copper wire in tinfoil and tape for the body structure, I get to work preparing an afternoon snack with my pasta roller. I jam a blob of Super Sculpey in the top, and with a few turns I have a piece that is thin and ready to act as skin. Hey, that rhymes. Thin and acts like skin. Copyrighted. I start with the cow, but build up a blob on its back for Taylor to sit on later. I hack a few chunks of clay using the blade of an X-Acto knife, then smooth out the body with my plastic tooth cleaning tool. If you're like me and just starting out, you can find things around your house instead of buying expensive tools. I put a ropey bit around the middle of the cow's torso, which will act as the ripped open skin that holds all of its guts later on. I then cut some skinny strips that I heat gun to firm up that will eventually get jammed into the hole to look like broken ribs. Now onto the cow's nostril area. I poke 2 holes in either side by using my plastic tool, then build up the ridges using a couple thin rolly bits. I stick a couple beads in his head for eyes. The advantage of using beads is that they don't get squished when you make adjustments to its head later on. The cow's ears are quite large and flappy, so in order to give them some extra support, I bend 2 pieces of thin wire to act as the skeleton, or I guess cartilage in this case, and poke them deep into the cow's cranium. I use a couple thin flappy bits and then fold them over onto themselves, and bingo bango, the ears are looking good. Or should I say, hearing good. I forgot to mention that while firming up those ribs, I also firmed up a chunk that I am using for the cow's teeth. I really need to give this cow a name now that it looks like a cow. How about KWest? Yay! That'll do. With KWest looking like a cow in agony, I move on to shaping the buttocks of our vampire Taylor. 2 round perky balls will do just fine here. I then add some upper thighs, knees, and calves. Not calves, I only have time for 1 cow in this video. Right, okay, moving on. I bring up a picture of Daywalker Taylor to try to get a somewhat accurate representation of what she looks like. But I will have you know that giving a blob of clay the size of a marble human characteristics isn't the easiest of tasks. I start with a cross down her face to act as a guide for her eyes, nose, and mouth. Instead of building up the face with clay, I push my silicone tooth tool into her face to form the eyebrows and nose bridge. I add another thin piece for her hair and leave it looking a little like a mullet, but don't worry, it gets fixed later on. Back to her body. I start to form her torso region and add a few pieces that I smooth into her body to act as a short dress. With her body pretty well formed, I dig a hole in her head and pop it on top of her neck. So far, I'm sort of liking the look of this design, but realize I'm missing something utterly important. The udder. Once the round bulbous blob is properly attached to KWest, I cut some small milking bits. Because KWest needs to produce! Milk, not music. He's a cow. And yes, I realize that only female cows have udders, but KWest said that's bull. Right, moving on. Now on to the tail. To make it, I use another piece of wire that gets covered in clay, then bent into position before being inserted into KWest's rear. Some more teeth and a tongue go into that gaping mouth hole before moving on to Taylor's gut-wrenching hands. Literally, they'll be holding KWest's guts. I tear away at that gash to create what appears to be an open wound, then wind a ropey bit to make it look like intestine. Clearly I'm not a vet, so I have no idea how the insides of a cow should actually look, but as long as there are lots of protruding, strange looking pieces, I think I should be fine. I'm just going to do some last minute detailing before moving on to the paint job, so please enjoy the top of Taylor's head, as well as the top of my head. I should also mention that I give this cow some sweet texture by acting like a crazed fan and poking it to death. And with that, it's into the oven and onto the painting process. I start by giving the entire sculpture a white base coat. Then move on to the cow using a variety of different browns to try and create depth. Next, it's the guts. Red and gory, just as you'd predict. I mix a blend of green and gold for Vampire Taylor's dress because she wouldn't have it any other way. Her skin pigment is much like mine, ghostly white, so I achieved this color by mixing like 90% white paint with a dollop of pink and light brown. Her hair is a dirty brown blonde color, so that's where I start. But don't worry, in a few seconds she's going to get a wash of black paint, which will make her look much grimier. I add a red wash to make KWest's eyes look bloodshot, for the simple fact that he's being devoured, not because he's inhaled some sticky, icky. I use my gel medium to make the wet parts look glossy like the guts, eyes, and tongue. And for my finale, I use some plastic model cement to create saliva dripping from Taylor's mouth to the organs. And with that, we are on to the photo shoot. This was a creepy project, but a fun one. Stay tuned for next week's
Clay against humanity
video, where I create something even better. I hope. I haven't thought of what to do yet, but I will. See you next week.